Welcome back to the channel. This is part 5 to the road to becoming a Pokemon champion. Chapter 5, Pokemon Emergency. It was about 6:30 in the evening right now. Ash and Serena had just arrived in Viridian City with Ash cradling Pikachu in his arms. As soon as they had entered the city limits, they broke out into a run for the nearest Pokemon Center. Ash was going for his Pikachu and Serena for her Charmander, Charla. They were in such a rush that they weren't paying attention to the announcements that were being made throughout the city. Everyone, be on your guard. There have been reports of Pokemon thieves in the city, a female voice said throughout various intercoms in the city. The female voice belonged to Officer Jenny. She was the main police officer of Viridian City. She had been working in the police force for 15 years, and these thieves have been some of the most elusive she's ever had to try and catch. She was able to get a wanted poster out for them, but their picture was a bad shot and really only got their silhouettes. The thieves were said to be members of Team Rocket, the biggest crime organization in the Kanto region. Even the police force was constantly having trouble with Team Rocket. Team Rocket was said to be so dangerous that, even if the police were able to find their main base, they would have an uphill battle trying to arrest them all. Officer Jenny gave a sigh after giving the announcement in her booth. She just wished she could have some sort of lead to the crooks. It was then that she noticed 2 kids run by her booth. One was a raven-haired boy carrying a Pikachu and the other was a girl with dark blonde hair. Judging by their bruises and how dirty their clothes were, she could tell they had been in some sort of trouble recently. "Hold it." Officer Jenny called after them. The 2 immediately stopped and turned around to face the police officer. "Where do you 2 think you are going with that Pikachu?" Officer Jenny asked as she approached them. It was the boy who answered. "My Pikachu is seriously injured, and we need to take it to the Pokemon Center," he replied. "Right, and we need to get my Charmander there, too," the girl pleaded. Officer Jenny studied the 2 a moment before she determined they were telling her the truth. "I understand. Just let me see your IDs to prove you're trainers, and you can go," she said. "Do you mean our Pokédexes?" the boy asked as he pulled the Pokédex out of his side pants pocket, while the girl pulled hers from her backpack. Officer Jenny took the devices and pushed a few buttons, and the robotic voices spoke up. They introduced the 2 trainers as Ash Ketchum and Serena Gabina to prove their story was genuine. "Okay. Your story checks out," Officer Jenny nodded as she handed them back their Pokédexes. "Thanks," Ash replied before he addressed his previous concern. "Can you tell us where the Pokemon Center is?" Officer Jenny smiled. "I'll do you one better. I'll take you to there myself." "Really? Thank you so much," Serena said gratefully. "No problem," Officer Jenny responded with a nod. With that, Officer Jenny ran into the garage next to her booth, hopped on her motorcycle, and fired on the ignition. She then drove out and stopped right next to the 2 trainers. Luckily, the motorcycle had a sidecar that was big enough for 2 people. "Hop in," she told them. The 2 trainers got in the sidecar, and Officer Jenny sped off, blazing her sirens. Had they looked behind them, they would have noticed a red-haired girl holding a ruined bicycle, running after them. "Those 2 kids aren't going to get away from me," Misty thought. Nobody seemed to notice the huge hot air balloon that was flying overhead. It was in the shape of a cat-like Pokemon with a golden charm on its forehead called Meowth. The balloon lowered a hook from its basket and peeled off the wanted posters from the side of the police booth and brought them back up to the balloon's occupants. "Ugh, can you believe this photo? It makes me look terrible," a woman in her 20s said in disgust. She had long, dark red hair that reached all the way down her back and curled inward at the end. She also wore a white uniform with a huge red R in middle of the shirt which opened slightly at bottom, exposing her stomach. She also had on black gloves and black boots. "Tell me about it," Jesse, a man, also in his 20s, replied. He had blue hair that was parted at the sides and reached just above his shoulders. Like his companion, he also wore a white uniform, but it covered his whole body below the head. He also wore black gloves and black boots. With this terrible picture, they will be sorry they ever looked at this face, the man added. We're all sorry after looking at your face. Stick to the plan, James, a new voice piped up. This voice didn't belong to a human but a Pokemon. It was a Meowth that could actually stand upright and talk in human language. Humph. You're right, James grunted before he turned to Jessie and gave a sinister smile. Are you ready to steal some Pokemon? I'm very ready, Jessie replied just as evilly. And don't forget, I'm the top cat. Meowth. Meowth added. Ash and Serena wished Officer Jenny would slow down on her motorcycle. They were glad she was trying to get to the Pokemon Center as fast as she could. The only problem was Viridian City didn't have the smoothest roads. This caused the sidecar to shake violently, which made it very uncomfortable. As the Pokemon Center came into view, Ash looked down at his Pikachu in his arms. Don't worry, Pikachu. We're almost there, he said, which the Pokemon gave a weak nod to. Isn't she going to stop? Serena wondered as she realized they were coming closer and closer to the building, and Officer Jenny wasn't slowing down. Officer Jenny? Ash questioned uncertainly as they were almost at the door, and she still hadn't stopped yet. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing, Officer Jenny replied as she continued to speed along. They were just seconds away from the double doors, and Ash and Serena were getting pretty nervous. We are going to crash, Serena cried, and out of reflex, she grabbed onto Ash for support, but the crash never came. Just before the motorcycle came into contact with the double doors, they automatically opened, and the vehicle shot through opening to the building. Officer Jenny then slammed on her brakes, and the motorcycle screeched to a halt, just before it rammed into the front desk. See? I told you I knew what I was doing, Officer Jenny said with a smile, looking at the almost terrified two kids. Gracious. What's going on? A nurse with pink hair in two buns cried as she ran out of the back room. Nurse Joy. We have a Pokemon emergency, Officer Jenny stated firmly. Nurse Joy then ran over to the two kids in the sidecar and saw Pikachu's condition. I understand. Chansey. Get a stretcher stat, she called over her shoulder. A pink egg-shaped Pokemon with stubby limbs that had pink curls on the side of its head and had an egg in its stomach pouch appeared. It was carrying a stretcher and moving as fast as its stubby legs could move. Nurse Joy. Could you please take my Charmander? It's been injured as well, Serena said with worry, holding up her Pokeball for Nurse Joy to see. I will, Nurse Joy replied, and took the Pokeball before she gave it to Chansey. She then took Pikachu and placed it on the stretcher. Chansey then ran to the back room with Cholo's Pokeball and the stretcher with Pikachu on it. As Ash and Serena climbed out of the sidecar, Officer Jenny gave a salute. Well, my work here is done. Nurse Joy sweat dropped. Yes. You did a great job of getting them here. Just please use the driveway next time, she said nervously. Hehehehe. Of course, Officer Jenny replied sheepishly. She then drove out of the Pokemon Center on her motorcycle. Ash then looked up at Nurse Joy with pleading eyes. Please tell me the Pokemon are going to be alright, he said. We are about to examine them now. I will let you know as soon as I find out anything, Nurse Joy replied as she disappeared into the back room. Ash and Serena decided it would be best to wash up and change while their Pokemon were being healed. They both took out their change of clothes from their backpacks and went to their respective bathrooms to change. Ash had changed into a white t-shirt with a Pokeball symbol on it and black athletic shorts, and Serena changed into a plain light pink shirt and pink shorts. They also found a small laundry room to wash their other clothes. Ash and Serena then decided to sit down on one of the sofas in the lobby while they waited. Ash went ahead to sit down while Serena went over to the vending machine to get 2 bottled waters. She returned and handed one to Ash. She noticed how upset of an expression he had, and looked at Ash worriedly. She was worried about her Charmander, but knew Pikachu was in much worse shape. She then placed a comforting hand on Ash's shoulder as she sat down next to him. "Don't worry, Ash. The Pokémon centers specialize in Pokémon treatment. Pikachu will just fine. You'll see," she told him. Ash managed a small smile, but still had the sad look in his eyes. "Thanks, Serena. It's just the fact that it got hurt trying to protect me. I have to make sure it's okay," he muttered. Serena nodded her head sympathetically. Ash then stood up. "Serena, I'm going to take a quick shower, since I still feel really dirty. I'll be back in a little bit," he said as he walked off. Serena was then left to her own musings. Ash will probably sign up for the Pokémon League while we are here, she thought. I like Pokémon battles, but there has to be something else besides the Pokémon League that I can do. Serena pondered on this for the next several minutes, until she noticed two posters on the wall of the Pokémon centers. One was an advertisement for the Pokémon League, but the other was for something else called the Battle Chateau. She walked up to the two posters to get a closer look at them. "Do you think you have what it takes to conquer the newly created Battle Chateau?" the advertisement for the Battle Chateau said. "Battle many different trainers and improve your rank. Become known throughout the entire region. Become the best and win special prizes. Battle Chateau?" Serena thought. "Hey, Serena. What are you looking at?" a voice said behind her. Serena turned around and saw Ash approaching, still in his alternative clothes. "I was just looking at these two posters," she answered as Ash stopped next to her. "Hey. It's an advertisement for the Pokémon League," Ash said excitedly. "Do you want to be the very best? Think you have what it takes to conquer the toughest trainers in the region? Challenge the Pokémon gyms and find out. Win all 8 badges from the gym leaders and qualify for the Pokémon League. Winners may even get a chance to challenge the Elite Four. Sign up at the nearest Pokémon Center." "Awesome. I need to make sure to do that while I'm here," Ash exclaimed enthusiastically. "Since we are still waiting to hear about our Pokémon, why don't we call home? I'm sure our moms would like to make sure that we are okay," Serena suggested. "Yeah. Good idea," Ash replied as they walked over to the video phone. Serena took one last look at the Battle Chateau poster on the wall. "I should look further into that," she thought. Once they reached the phones, Serena spoke up. "Is it okay if I call my mom first?" she asked. "Sure. Go right ahead," Ash responded with a nod. Ash stood next to Serena as she dialed the number to her house and heard it ringing on the other end. At the third ring it was picked up, and Serena heard her mother's voice. "Hello," Grace said from the other end. "Hi, Mom. It's Sus," Serena answered. "Oh, Serena. Delia. It's Serena Ann. Ash," Grace exclaimed from the other end. A few seconds later her image appeared on the screen. She was soon joined by Delia Ketchum. "Mom? You are over there also?" Ash questioned. "Well, of course, Ash. Grace and I are friends, after all. She invited me over for a cup of coffee," Delia replied. "Oh, right," Ash muttered. "Anyway, how has everything been so far?" Grace asked them. Serena frowned. "Not so good. We were attacked by a flock of Spearow, and our Pokémon were hurt, too." Their moms then got a worried look on their face. "Oh, no. You two weren't injured also, were you?" Delia asked. "No. We were fine," Serena replied. They weren't about to tell their mothers that Ash was almost run through by the whole flock of Spearow. "We know your Pokémon are hurt, and they protected you like they are supposed to, but don't forget to keep them safe, as well. When you and your Pokémon can become as one team, you can soar like a Pidgeot," Grace advised. "Right. We will," they answered. "Remember to eat right and get enough sleep, too," Delia added in. Of course, the two answered again. Is there anything else you need? Grace asked. Yeah. I have a question, Mom. Have you ever heard of the Battle Chateau? Serena spoke up. HMM. I have seen a few advertisements on television and in the newspaper. It's a very new concept that was organized only within the past 6 months. It has been promoted a lot recently to try and get people to notice and try it out, Grace answered. Okay. I was just wondering. Thanks, Serena smiled. No problem. Can I help you with anything else? Grace asked. No. I'm good, Serena said. Well, okay, good night, you two. Call us again soon, Grace finished, followed by a wave and good night from Delia. Good night. Love you, the two said. Then Serena hung up the phone. Ash then remembered something. Hey. Remember that huge Pokemon we saw fly over the rainbow? I had never seen a Pokemon like that before. Do you think we should tell Professor Oak about it? Maybe he could give us some information. Ash figured. Okay. I'm curious about it, myself, Serena replied. This time it was Ash who picked up the phone and dialed. He heard the phone ring for a minute before he heard Professor Oak's voice say, Oak Pokemon Lab. May I help you? Hey, Professor Oak. It's Ash and Serena, Ash replied. He then saw the video screen turn on, and Professor Oak appeared. Ah, hello there, you two. I see you made it to Viridian City. Your mothers told me that you would be traveling together. I knew you two could get there by nightfall, Professor Oak said. Thanks, Professor. We were calling because we were wondering if you could tell us anything about this Pokemon. Ash requested as he held up his Pokédex and pressed a button to make a picture of the majestic Pokemon appear. Great galloping Rapidash. Where in blazes did you find that picture? Professor Oak exclaimed. I got its picture on my Pokédex when I saw it, Ash replied. You two saw that Pokemon? That's incredible. Professor Oak said in amazement. What's so special about it? Serena asked curiously. You two clearly don't know what you have seen. Trainers and researchers like myself have searched our entire lives for this Pokemon and have never seen it. Professor Oak replied. Wow, Serena. We just saw a legendary Pokemon. Ash said excitedly and turned to her, which caused her to smile. Indeed. Perhaps this is a sign that you two will have great things happen to you on your journey. I'm very impressed. Professor Oak said while folding his arms and nodding his head. Thanks, Professor, they both replied. Ash, if it's not too much trouble, do you think could scan the image of that Pokemon for me to send it to the lab? I would like to study it more. Just slide your Pokédex into that slot on the left side of the video phone, Professor Oak requested. Sure. No problem, Ash replied as he did so. Alright. I have the picture coming out right now on this end. Thank you both. Professor Oak said gratefully. You're welcome, they both replied. They then heard a beeping noise from the other end. Oh. I have to go. The tofu's done. Take care. Professor Oak said hurriedly before hanging up. Ash and Serena chuckled softly at the professor's antics before they heard a very angry voice behind them. Now I've got you, the voice called. They both spun around at the voice, and they were quite surprised. Standing at the entrance to the Pokemon Center was the red-haired girl from earlier that day, Misty. She was holding a very ruined bicycle above her head, and she looked very angry. I thought I might find you here at the Pokemon Center. Misty yelled as she stomped towards them. What happened to your bike? Ash asked stupidly. Misty got a look of disbelief on her face. Are you serious? You two happened to my bike, you little twerps. You stole it, and apparently ruined it in the process. This is all that's left. Ash and Serena were trying to recall what could have ruined the girl's bike, and then they remembered Pikachu's Thunderbolt attack as realization hit them. They sweat dropped. You two are going to buy me a new one, and I'm not letting you out of my sight until you do. Misty shouted angrily. Serena was liking this girl less and less every second. She had done nothing but shout at them ever since they met. Did she even know how to speak in a normal tone of voice? Alright. We are sorry. We'll get you a new bike, but we need to make sure our Pokemon are alright first, Ash said calmly to try to quell the girl's anger. Serena looked at Ash in surprise. They shouldn't have to owe this girl anything with the way she has been treating them. Oh no you don't. I'm not falling for that one again. You are buying me a new bike right now. Misty stated firmly. That did it for Serena. Are you so materialistic that you care about your stupid bike more than the life of Pokemon? Our Pokemon are really injured in there, and all you care about is getting another bike. Ash and I shouldn't have to owe you anything, Serena said, glaring at Misty. What's that supposed to mean? Misty shouted, directing her attention at Serena. Serena smirked. This girl had walked right into that one. It means you're a spoiled brat. Why you Misty growled, but didn't finish as Ash stepped in between them. Alright, guys. We've all gotten off on the wrong foot. Let's start over, Ash said nervously, and then faced Misty. My name is Ash Ketchum, and this is Serena Gabina. What's your name? I don't care what your names are. I just want a new bike. Misty shouted again. I promise we will get you a new bike as soon as we can, Ash said gently, trying to calm the girl. We are very sorry we took it, but it was an emergency. Will you please tell us your name? The girl's intense glare softened a little, only a little, though. Humph. Fine. My name's Misty, she huffed. It's nice to meet you, Misty, Ash replied, attempting a smile. Misty didn't return it. Don't expect me to become friends with you guys or anything, but I'll go ahead and ask how your Pokemon are. I hope it isn't serious, she stated. It's about time. She quit shouting, thought Serena bitterly. She still had her arms crossed and hadn't let up on her glare. We don't know if it's serious or not, Ash muttered sadly. It's our first day as a Pokemon trainer, and our Pokemon are already hurt. You two need to learn to take better care of your Pokemon, Misty stated firmly, and crossed her arms. If you don't, you will never get anywhere as a Pokemon trainer. I'd like to see you take on a flock of Spearow for your Pokemon like Ash did, Serena thought in aggravation, but held her tongue. She didn't feel the need to continue talking to Misty. They were then interrupted by a loud ding from behind them. The three turned around and saw the operation icon was turned off. The backroom doors opened, and Chansey and Nurse Joy walked out, and they wheeling both Pikachu and Cholla on a table. Ash and Serena immediately ran over to their Pokemon. Misty followed and also looked concerned. How are they, Nurse Joy? Ash asked once the group reached them. Nurse Joy gave a smile. Your Pokemon are very tired, but they will be just fine. They just need a good night's rest. And they will be as good as new, she said kindly. That's great, Serena said happily. She and Ash were really relieved that their Pokemon had no serious injuries. How are you feeling, Pikachu? Ash asked with Serena doing likewise with her Pokemon. Both Pokemon smiled weakly at their trainers and nodded their heads, signifying they were fine. I'm about to bring them back to the recovery room to rest for the night. You two should go in with them, Nurse Joy told Ash and Serena. Both trainers nodded and turned to Misty. Once again, we are really sorry about your bike, but we will need some time to make things right, Ash said. Misty sighed. Fine. Go ahead and take care of your Pokemon, and we will settle up later, she replied. Thanks for understanding, Ash nodded. He and Serena were just about to head with Nurse Joy and their Pokemon when they heard a loud buzzing throughout the center. Everyone in the room glanced around. What on earth could be causing that noise? Attention, everyone. Officer Jenny's voice rang on the intercoms. A hot air balloon belonging to a group of Pokemon thieves has been detected. Exercise extreme caution and keep your Pokemon safe. No sooner had they heard the announcement that a loud crash was heard from above. Everyone looked up and saw two Pokeballs falling from the broken skylight. They two Pokeballs opened once they hit floor to reveal a long purple snake Pokemon with a yellow rings around its body and a rattle at the end. The other Pokemon was a spherical Pokemon with many craters on it. It had a skull and crossbones symbol on its center and what seemed like a permanent goofy smile on its face. As soon as the Pokemon were released, the spherical Pokemon let out a smoker screen attack from its craters, blinding everyone in the room. They then heard evil laughter. Once the smoke cleared, they looked and saw two people in uniforms with the big red R in the middle, and a Pokemon, Jesse and James and Meowth. Ash pulled out his Pokédex to scan the three new Pokemon. Ekans, the snake Pokemon. It moves silently and stealthily to sneak up on prey. The older it gets, the longer it grows. Coughing, the poison gas Pokemon. Toxic gas is held in its balloon-shaped body to cause massive explosions. Meowth, the scratch cat Pokemon. It loves to roam at night, to gather coins and other objects that sparkle, and spends most of the daytime sleeping, the Pokédex said. Who are you guys? Ash exclaimed as he put his hands over his Pikachu protectively with Serena doing the same. We will be happy to tell you, little boy, they answered. To protect the world from devastation. Jesse began to unite all people within our nation. James said to denounce the evils of truth and love. To extend our reach to the stars above. Jesse. James. Team Rocket blasts off at the speed of light. Surrender now or prepare to fight. Meowth. That's right. Meowth finished. Despite their amazement that a Meowth just talked, the group was more worried about the injured Pokemon. You must be the Pokemon thieves that have had this city so worried. Serena accused. We are much more than thieves. I assure you, Jesse replied. That's right. We are part of the deadly Team Rocket, James said, smiling evilly. I don't care what you're a part of. I'll never let you take Pikachu. Ash yelled with a determined look on his face. To his surprise, they chuckled. Oh please. We don't have any interest in that yellow rat, so you can relax, Jesse sneered. We are only interested in strong Pokemon. You're wasting your time. Then. There are only injured Pokemon here at the Pokemon Center, Nurse Joy stated firmly. Not so fast, Nurse. There are definitely bound to be powerful Pokemon in here like that Charmander. If we turn it into a Charizard, it will make a great gift for the boss, James corrected, looking at Serena's Pokemon with interest. Forget it. Serena shouted. You don't have a choice. Ekans. Coughing. Attack, the Team Rocket members ordered as both Pokemon lunged forward. Everyone quickly got out of the way and made a run for it to the back room as Ekans and Coughing continued to cause havoc in the lobby. We need to transport all the Pokeballs to the other Pokemon centers as fast as possible before those crooks can get them. Nurse Joy said urgently once they were in the back room and Ash had locked the door. Right. Ash, Serena, and Misty nodded and began to scoop up few Pokeballs in each arm, but then the power shut off. Oh, no. They must have cut the power. Serena cried. Not to worry. We have our own source of power, Nurse Joy said. No later had she said that when the lights came back on. The three kids looked around and wondered what could have caused that. Ash, Serena, and Misty then looked to the center of the room to see a whole group of Pikachu using their electricity on a generator to power the Pokemon Center. That was a lucky Joy then ran over to a nearby computer and pressed a few select buttons, causing a certain machine next to it to turn on. Initiating emergency Pokemon transport sequence, the computer said. Right. Let's hurry up and transport them. I have them ready to be received at the other Pokemon centers. Nurse Joy said to the group. Everyone then began to send as many pokeballs through the transporter as they could. They then heard banging coming from the other side of the door and knew that Team Rocket was trying to break the door down. "We've got to hurry," Nurse Joy cried as she and everyone else began to move more frantically. The door then busted open with Ekans and Coughing taking the lead with Jessie, James, and Meowth behind them. "Oh. It looks like they are trying to transport all the Pokemon," Jessie smirked. "We can still grab that Charmander, though," James said, pointing at Serena's Charmander. Coughing, "Go get it." "You too, Ekans," said Jessie. "No." Serena cried as she ran forward and threw her arms around the Charmander, ready to protect it at all costs. Ekans and Coughing weren't deterred at all as they lunged forward prepared to attack the girl too, if necessary. "Serena!" Ash cried as the Pokemon drew closer. "Staryu! Come out and use Water Gun to protect them!" Misty shouted as she released a small tan starfish-like Pokemon with a red jewel in the middle. The Pokemon then jumped in front of Serena and Charmander and used its Water Gun attack to blast back the two Pokemon just before they struck. They smashed back into Jessie, James, and Meowth, which caused them to tumble onto the floor. Serena stared at Misty in surprise. "Wow. Thanks, Misty. You saved Chola and me," she said. Misty nodded at Serena before turning back to Staryu. "Use Tackle Attack, Staryu," she said. Staryu spun forward and slammed hard into Team Rocket, knocking them backwards out of the room. "Great. That's the last of them," Nurse Joy announced as she and Ash finished placing the last few Pokeballs in the transporter. "GRRR. Don't think this is over, you little brats," Jessie growled as she and the rest of the Rocket members appeared again at the doorway. "You may have transferred all of the center's Pokemon, but we still have yours to take." "That's right. We call a Pokemon battle. Let's see you take on both of us, little girl," James snarled as Ekans and Coughing got into battle positions. Pikachu then got to its feet and turned to Ash. Charla did the same and got a determined look on its face. "Pick a pie." "Pikachu." "Pikachu," said Ash looked at Pikachu concerned. "You are saying you want to battle? Are you sure you're well enough to?" he questioned. "Pikachu, it nodded. "You too, Charla?" Serena asked, receiving a nod from the Pokemon. "Heh. Good luck with those injured Pokemon," Jessie sneered. "Ekans. Use Wrap Attack on Staryu." "Coughing. Use Tackle Attack on Pikachu," James ordered. Both Pokemon took stands and lunged at the Pokemon, ready to do their respective attacks. "Chola. Use Ember on Ekans to protect Staryu," Serena shouted. "Pikachu. Use Thunder Shock on Coughing," Ash commanded. Both Pokemon launched their respective attacks, knocking the two Pokemon backwards at the feet of Jessie, James, and Meowth. "Thanks, Serena," Misty said gratefully, turning back to Serena and smiling. "You're welcome," Serena replied, giving Misty a smile of her own. "Do I have to do everything myself?" Meowth asked rhetorically as it extended its claws and charged at the Pokemon. "I'll show you." Fury swipes. Staryu. Use Water Gun on Meowth, Misty ordered. Staryu then sprayed another jet of water at Meowth, pushing it backwards and into Jessie, James, Coughing, and Ekans. They went flying backwards out of the room and back into the lobby again. Ash, Serena, Misty, and their Pokemon followed them out and saw that Team Rocket was laying on the floor, completely drenched. "Hey. Water conducts electricity. I know how to get rid of them." "Pikachu, use Thunder Shock on Team Rocket," Ash said and pointed at them. Pikachu nodded and let loose its Thunder Shock, greatly shocking Team Rocket. They cried out from the pain. Coughing, unable to control itself, let loose several poisonous gases. "I remember," Serena realized. "Those gases are flammable." "Chola. Use Ember." Chola then let loose its Ember attack. As soon as the small bits of fire made contact with the gases, there was a large explosion, sending Team Rocket blasting through the roof and into the night. Ash and Serena leaped into the air, their victory. Misty was standing behind them as she watched them celebrate. Maybe those two weren't so bad, after all. Alright. Way to go, everyone. Ash cheered. Oh, thank you so much. You saved the Pokemon from Team Rocket. Nurse Joy said gratefully. Ahehehe. Sorry about the damage we did to the center, Nurse Joy, Serena said sheepishly. Nurse Joy sweat dropped. Oh, I'm sure we can get everything fixed. The most important thing is that you helped keep the Pokemon safe. Serena then turned to Misty. Hey, Misty. Thank you for protecting Charla and me. Really? Misty returned the smile. You're welcome. You protected my Staryu too. I have to admit, when we first met, I thought you were some irresponsible trainer, but now that I've actually talked to you, it turns out I was wrong. You're pretty okay and clearly love your Pokemon. Thanks, Misty. Same here. Why don't we start over? Serena suggested, extending her hand for Misty to shake. Misty nodded and reached her hand out also, and the two girls shook. That's great seeing you two get along now. Ash grinned. Don't forget, though. You two still owe me a new bike, Misty reminded. Hehehe. Don't worry. We are short on cash right now, but once we save up enough, I promise we'll get you a new one, Serena promised. Sounds good, Misty nodded. In the meantime, I'll just have to come with you. Ash and Serena exchanged glances with each other. What should they do? She wanted to keep tabs on them. Still, Misty had proven she could be pretty nice, after all. They also decided that having a trainer with some experience would be pretty helpful on their journey too. Both of them then looked back at Misty and nodded. Alright. The more, the merrier. Welcome to our group, Misty. Ash said happily. Since all of you helped keep the Pokemon safe, why don't you stay the night here for free? Nurse Joy offered. The rooms weren't damaged at all in the attack, so it should still be comfortable for you. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Nurse Joy. Ash smiled before his stomach growled. I haven't had anything to eat in a while. Do you know where we can get some food? Everyone laughed at Ash's antics. Leave it to Ash to think about food. While they were laughing, Serena had thought about what an eventful first day they had. It had started off pretty terrible with the flock of Spearow, their Pokemon being injured, an attack by a criminal organization, and meeting a quick-tempered redhead. However, by the end, it had changed to a good day. They had seen a legendary Pokemon, saved the Pokemon of the Pokemon Center, made a new friend, and she saw something that might have captured her interest, the Battle Chateau. She couldn't wait to see what the rest of their journey would contain after today.